Welcome back, everyone, to Building Foundations, the podcast by DGI Waterproofing. I'm so glad you could join us again.
Always happy to be here.
In our last episode, we tackled a pretty stressful topic,
Yeah.
how to fix a flooded basement. But this time, we're going all about prevention.
Love it.
We're diving deep into why regular basement inspections are a must,
Yeah.
especially for those of you here in Ontario.
Yeah, it's funny. We often don't think about our basements until there's a problem.
Right.
But they really are the unsung heroes of our homes, holding everything up literally.
That's true.
And with Ontario's, crazy weather swings, heavy rains, melting snow, those freeze and thaw cycles,
Oh, yeah.
our basements really take a beating.
They do. They really do. And those conditions can lead to all sorts of issues that we'd rather avoid.
For sure.
Water damage, mold growth, even structural problems.
Them big ones.
Yeah. So the good news is, though, regular inspections can help us catch those problems early and hopefully save you a ton of stress and money down the road.
Absolutely.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Let's do it.
Why are these inspections so important?
Well, for starters, they help ensure your waterproofing protection is doing its job.
Okay.
Think of it like getting your car serviced regularly. You wouldn't wait until your engine blows to take it to the mechanic, right?
Right.
The same goes for your basement. Those waterproofing systems are your first line of defense against water intrusion, and regular inspections make sure that they're in tip-top shape.
So it's like a checkup
Exactly.
for your basement's health.
Yeah.
But what about those of us who haven't noticed any major problems yet?
Right.
Are there any subtle signs that we might be missing?
Absolutely. One thing to keep an eye out for is even the smallest water stains or damp patches
Okay.
on your walls or floors. It might seem like no big deal, but it could be a sign of a bigger problem lurking beneath the surface.
So we shouldn't just brush those off as no big deal.
Definitely not. And while you're at it, check for cracks in your foundation walls or floors. These can be tricky as they often start small, but if you notice them getting larger or more numerous, it's a sign that something might be shifting or settling in a way it shouldn't.
Got it. So water stains, cracks, those are some visual cues.
Hmm.
What about our other senses? Can they help us detect any early warning signs?
You bet. If you notice a musty smell in your basement, that's often a telltale sign of mold or mildew. It means there's moisture trapped somewhere, creating the perfect environment for those fungi to thrive.
Thanks.
And speaking of moisture, pay attention to increased humidity or condensation if the air in your basement feels unusually damp, or you see condensation on pipes, windows, or walls. That's another red flag.
Wow. So it sounds like our senses really are our best tools here. Sight, smell, touch. They can all help us detect those early warning signs.
Hmm?
But let's say we've noticed some of these red flags and decide it's time to call in the pros.
Okay.
What can we expect during a professional basement inspection?
Well, when you schedule an inspection with us here at CGI, our certified inspectors will conduct a thorough assessment of your basement. We don't just glance around, we really get into the nitty-gritty.
So walk us through the process. What are the key areas you focus on?
First and foremost, we're looking for any signs of water damage and moisture.
Okay.
This includes checking for those visible signs. We talked about water stains, dampness. But we also use specialized tools to detect hidden moisture. It's like being a basement detective.
Ooh, I like that.
We also carefully examine the foundation walls for cracks and assess the overall structural integrity, looking for any weaknesses or potential problem areas.
So you're really getting a comprehensive picture of the basement's overall health.
Exactly.
What else do you look at?
Ventilation and humidity levels are also crucial. We'll check your basement's ventilation system to make sure it's adequate and working properly. This helps prevent that moisture buildup that can lead to problems.
Okay.
And if you have a sump pump, we'll make sure it's functioning correctly and that the drainage system around your foundation is directing water away from your home.
It sounds like you leave no stone unturned.
We try our best.
But what if you discover something that needs fixing?
Well, that's where our expertise really comes in. We don't just point out problems, we offer solutions.
Okay.
After the inspection, you'll receive a detailed report outlining our findings and recommendations, including potential risks and solutions to address any issues.
So it's not just about identifying problems. It's about providing actionable steps to fix them.
That's our goal.
That's reassuring.
Yeah.
So it seems like regular inspections are a smart investment, not just in the value of your home, but in your peace of mind as well. But I'm curious, how often should homeowners schedule these inspections? Is there a magic number?
That's a great question. And while there's no one-size-fits-all answer, there are some general guidelines. As a rule of thumb, we recommend having your basement inspected at least once a year, ideally in the spring.
Why the spring? Is it because that's when our basements are most vulnerable?
You get it. Spring is when we typically see the most rainfall and snowmelt, putting extra pressure on our basements. It's the perfect time to check for any damage that might have occurred over the winter and make sure your waterproofing systems are ready for those wetter months.
So it's like a seasonal checkup for your basement.
Exactly. And if your home is older or you live in an area prone to flooding, you might want to consider inspections more frequently, perhaps twice a year.
Okay, that makes sense. So regular inspections are essential for all homes, regardless of age or location.
Absolutely. It's all about prevention and proactive maintenance. And remember, we're here to help.
Great.
If you're in the Toronto area and need a basement inspection, DGI Waterproofing is just a phone call away.
Perfect. Before we move on to part 2 of our deep dive, I want to leave you with something to think about.
Okay.
Imagine you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice about home maintenance when you first bought your house. What would it be?
Ooh, that's a tough one. But I think I'd tell myself to schedule those regular basement inspections from day one. Trust me, it's worth it.
Great advice.
You know, thinking about the advice we'd give our younger selves about home maintenance got me thinking about the bigger picture of basement inspections.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing how these practical topics can spark those deeper reflections, isn't it? What's on your mind?
Well, it struck me that basement inspections aren't just about preventing damage and saving money. They're also about responsibility. Responsibility to our homes, our families, and even our communities.
I like that. Unpack that for us. How do basement inspections connect to that sense of responsibility?
Well, when we take care of our homes, we're creating a safe and healthy environment for ourselves and our loved ones.
Right.
That's a fundamental responsibility of homeownership, but it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and lose sight of that bigger purpose.
It's true. Life gets busy, and those maintenance tasks can easily fall to the bottom of the to-do list.
Exactly. But when we neglect maintenance, we're not just risking damage to our property, we're potentially putting our families at risk too.
Yeah.
A compromised foundation, for example, can lead to uneven floors, sticking doors, and even cracks in walls and ceilings.
Wow.
Those issues can create hazards, especially for young children or older adults.
That's a good point. We often focus on the financial implications of damage, but the safety aspect is just as important, if not more so.
Absolutely. And then there's the community aspect. When we maintain our homes, we're contributing to the overall well-being of our neighborhoods. A well-maintained home is more likely to hold its value, which benefits the entire neighborhood. And when homes are in good repair, it creates a sense of pride and community spirit.
It's like a ripple effect, starting with our own homes and extending outward.
Exactly. It's about being good stewards of our homes, and our communities and basement inspections play a crucial role in that stewardship.
That's a great way to frame it. It elevates the act of home maintenance to something more meaningful. Now, I want to shift gears a bit and talk about something that often causes confusion.
Okay.
The difference between a general home inspection and a specialized basement inspection.
Right.
Many homeowners assume that a general home inspection covers everything, including the basement. Is that a misconception?
It is. While a general home inspection will typically include a visual assessment of the basement, it might not be as in-depth or comprehensive as a specialized basement inspection. A specialized basement inspector has specific expertise in foundations, waterproofing, and other basement-related issues. They know exactly what to look for and have the tools and knowledge to assess potential problems that a general inspector might not be equipped to handle.
So it's like going to a general practitioner versus a specialist.
That's a great analogy. For example, a specialized inspector will carefully examine the foundation walls and floors for crack settlement and other signs of structural issues. They'll also check for moisture intrusion, assess the grading and drainage around your home, and inspect your sump pump and other waterproofing systems.
It sounds like they're going the extra mile to ensure that your basement is in top shape. So when would you recommend a specialized basement inspection?
There are a few scenarios where it's particularly important to call in a specialist first if you're buying a new home, especially an older one. A specialized basement inspection is a must.
Right.
It can alert you to any existing problems or potential risks before you finalize the purchase second. If you've noticed any signs of water damage, such as dampness, musty odors, or cracks in the foundation, a specialized inspection can help you determine the cause and extent of the problem. And finally, if you're planning any major renovations that involve your basement, a specialized inspection can ensure that your plans are structurally sound and that you're not creating any new moisture problems.
So it's about peace of mind and informed decision-making.
Yeah.
You mentioned waterproofing earlier. How do basement inspections relate to waterproofing, and why is it so crucial, especially in Ontario?
Well, basement inspections and waterproofing go hand in hand. In fact, a thorough inspection is often the first step in developing an effective waterproofing plan. The inspection will reveal any existing moisture problems, areas of vulnerability, and potential risks. This information is essential for determining the best waterproofing solutions for your specific basement.
So it's like a diagnosis before prescribing treatment.
Exactly. And as we've discussed, Ontario's climate with its freeze-thaw cycles and heavy precipitation makes waterproofing absolutely essential.
Right.
Water can seep in through cracks in the foundation, through porous concrete, even up through the floor, and once it's in, it can cause a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Mold, mildew, structural damage, you name it.
So waterproofing is like creating a barrier to protect our homes from those issues.
Yeah.
What are some common waterproofing methods that homeowners should know about?
There are two main approaches, interior waterproofing and exterior waterproofing. Exterior waterproofing focuses on preventing water from reaching your foundation in the first place. This typically involves excavating around the foundation, applying a waterproof membrane to the exterior walls, and installing a drainage system to redirect water away from the house. It's very effective, especially if you're dealing with hydrostatic pressure, which is when water pushes against your foundation from the outside.
So exterior waterproofing is like creating a shield around your foundation to keep water out. What about interior waterproofing?
Interior waterproofing is used to manage water that has already entered your basement. It's both a damage control measure and a preventative measure. One common method is installing a perimeter drain system, which collects water that seeps in and directs it to a sump pump to be pumped out of your house. Another method is applying a waterproof sealant to the interior walls and floors to seal cracks and prevent further water intrusion.
So both interior and exterior waterproofing have their place depending on the specific needs of your basement.
Exactly. A qualified basement inspector can help determine the best approach for your home. And speaking of qualified inspectors, I think it's important to talk about how homeowners can find a reputable and qualified inspector. It's a crucial decision because you're entrusting them with the health and safety of your home.
Absolutely. What are some key factors homeowners should consider when making this decision?
First and foremost, look for an inspector who is licensed, insured, and experienced in basement inspections specifically.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to ask about their qualifications and experience, as well as their knowledge of local building codes and regulations. It's also important to choose an inspector who is independent and unbiased.
Great.
You want someone who will provide an honest and objective assessment of your basement without any conflicts of interest.
So someone who's not affiliated with any particular waterproofing company or contractor. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What about online reviews and testimonials? Are those helpful?
Absolutely. Online reviews can be a great way to gauge the reputation and reliability of an inspector. Look for reviews from other homeowners who have used their services and pay attention to any patterns or recurring themes. Don't be afraid to ask for references and check them thoroughly.
So it's about doing your research and due diligence.
Yeah.
What about pricing? Is that something homeowners should be wary of?
While price is always a consideration, it shouldn't be the sole deciding factor. Be wary of inspectors who offer significantly lower prices than your competitors, as it could indicate a lack of experience or thoroughness.
I imagine finding a qualified inspector within a budget can be tricky. What are some red flags listeners should watch out for when comparing prices?
That's a great question. If an inspector's price seems too good to be true, it probably is. Ask yourself, are they cutting corners? Are they using inferior equipment?
Right.
A reputable inspector will invest in quality tools and training, and that investment will be reflected in their pricing.
Good point. So it's about finding that balance between quality and affordability. And finally, what about communication? What should homeowners expect from a good inspector?
A good inspector will communicate clearly and effectively throughout the entire process. They'll explain their findings in a way that you can understand and answer any questions you might have. They'll also provide you with a detailed written report outlining their observations and recommendations.
So it's about transparency and open communication.
Absolutely. You want an inspector who will keep you informed and involved every step of the way. Now, before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, let me ask you this. Imagine you're giving a tour of your home to a first-time homebuyer. What's one piece of advice you'd share about maintaining a healthy and happy basement?
That's a good one. I think I'd tell them that the basement is more than just a storage space. It's the foundation of your home, and it deserves to be treated with care and attention. Don't neglect it. We've been talking all about basement inspections, and it's amazing how much there is to learn about this often overlooked part of our homes.
It's true, basements often get relegated to storage spaces or forgotten about entirely, but as we've been discussing, they play a crucial role in the overall health and integrity of our homes.
Absolutely. And regular inspections are key to catching those potential problems early on.
Right.
But, I'm curious, what are some common misconceptions about basement inspections?
Okay.
What are some things that homeowners might get wrong or misunderstand?
That's a great question.
Hmm.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that inspections are only necessary for older homes or homes with a history of water damage.
Hmm.
People often think, oh, my home is brand new, so surely the basement is fine. But as we discussed earlier, even new homes can have basement issues.
Right.
Construction flaws, improper grading, or even just the natural settling of the foundation can create vulnerabilities.
So it's not just about age, but about being proactive in catching those potential issues early, regardless of when your home was built.
Exactly. Another misconception is that homeowners can easily inspect their own basements and don't need to call in a professional.
Yeah, I can see how that's tempting, especially for those who are handy around the house.
Right.
But there's a lot more to a professional inspection than meets the eye.
Right. Professionals have the training, the specialized tools, and the knowledge to spot those subtle signs of damage. They understand the building codes and regulations, ensuring that your basement meets all the safety standards. It's not just about a visual check, it's about having that expertise.
So it's like the difference between doing your own taxes and hiring an accountant.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's worth having that professional peace of mind. What other misconceptions do you encounter?
Well, another one is that basement inspections are only about water damage.
Okay.
As we've talked about, water is a major concern, but inspections also look at structural integrity, ventilation, insulation, and other factors that create a healthy basement environment.
So it's a comprehensive assessment of the entire basement ecosystem, looking at all the potential risks.
Precisely. And by addressing those issues early on, you're protecting your entire home and your family's well-being.
Now, I want to shift gears slightly and talk about something that's probably top of mind for many homeowners, especially here in Ontario, where we're heading into the colder months, winterizing your basement.
Ah, yes. Winterizing is crucial for preventing frozen pipes and other winter-related woes.
What are some key steps homeowners can take to prepare their basements for the winter?
One of the most important things is to ensure your pipes are properly insulated.
Okay.
This helps prevent them from freezing and bursting, which can lead to major water damage, especially pipes that run along exterior walls. Or in unheated areas, you can use foam pipe insulation heat tape, or even just wrap them in old towels or blankets for added protection.
Okay, good to know. What about those pesky drafts? How can we seal those up to keep the cold air out?
Sealing air leaks around windows, doors, and other openings is crucial for maintaining a consistent temperature and preventing those chilly drafts. Whether stripping caulk or even spray foam insulation can effectively seal those gaps.
Makes sense. Now, what about ventilation? Is that still important during the winter months?
Absolutely. Proper ventilation is key to preventing moisture buildup, which can lead to mold growth. Make sure your basement windows are open slightly or that you have a ventilation fan running.
So it's about finding that balance between keeping the cold air out and making sure there's enough fresh air circulating.
Exactly. And don't forget to check your sump pump, make sure it's working properly, and that the discharge pipe is clear of any debris or ice buildup. A frozen sump pump during a thaw can spell disaster.
Good reminder. So those are some great tips to keep our basement safe and sound through the winter. And remember, if you have any concerns or questions about winterizing your basement, a professional inspection can give you personalized recommendations.
That's right. It's always best to consult with an expert, especially when it comes to protecting your home.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? From debunking common misconceptions about basement inspections to winterizing tips and emphasizing the importance of professional expertise.
It's been a truly insightful deep dive into the world of basements, and I hope our listeners feel empowered to take care of their homes.
Before we sign off, I want to leave our listeners with this thought. Think about your basement as the heart of your home. It's the foundation upon which everything else rests. By taking care of your basement, you're nurturing the heart of your home and creating a safe, healthy, and resilient space for your family. And remember, if you're in the Toronto area and need expert advice on basement inspections, waterproofing, or any other basement-related services, DGI Waterproofing is here to help. We're passionate about protecting homes and helping homeowners create dry, healthy, and worry-free basements. Give us a call, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
We're always here to help you build a strong foundation for your home.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Building Foundations. We'll be back soon with more insightful discussions and practical tips for maintaining your home. Until then, stay dry and stay safe.